Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Today, let's talk a little bit about a lot of things. There's a lot that's been going through my mind lately as it pertains to, virtually everything. From media and social media overload to information overload to influencer overload to observational overload. All of this stuff runs congruent with how we're doing our best to show up in the world, to perform in a, human manner. Where we are has always been fascinating to me. I don't mean flat earth, ball earth. I mean the fact that we're having this experience has been handed to us. The idea of this has been handed to us as in, it just simply is. Don't question it. It just is. Don't question your experience. Don't question your reason for being here. Don't question all of it. Just know that one thing leads to another and evolution and blah, blah, blah. Well, I believe that everything is an illusion. I think we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I'm going to keep talking about it. I believe that everything is here to help us grow, to help us comprehend something. Right? But what that is, I don't know. And this seems to, I don't want to say upset people, but there are so many people out there, and I used to be one of them, demanding answers. I no longer live with the need for answers, because every single time I get answers, well, I have more questions based on the new information. So I'm constantly amalgamating new stuff. Now, that's Alan Watts, a man who only thinks about his thoughts, only has his thoughts to think about. And this is one of the paralyses that I want to get into, because there's such an information overload that one thing will inevitably lead to another, and you can walk yourself out of the third dimension and into something completely existential, 100%, massive. And for what reason? To what end? For what purpose? We don't know. But the illusion of a fixed reality is, I think, a phenomenal starting point and potentially an ending point if we're going to tie it back together. But nothing we experience is actually what is. It's only what we perceive in that moment. The same conversations, the same person, the same environment, different mood, different state, different interpretation. I can hear somebody say something and think it's hilarious, and somebody else can hear it and go, that person's a dick. A joke could be made. Something could be said where, again, I find it funny, and somebody lived through an experience that makes that a horrendous joke to be made. Which is now where we have a media/liberalism coming in now, where you're seeing a bunch of people appear to be getting upset about numerous things. And so other people are going to come to the defense of the people who are getting upset, because these are people who don't identify with anything. Some would say low testosterone. And testosterone runs rampant through both male and female. But low T affects the way we function. And food is one of those massive things that has been altering our testosterone levels, or generally all of our levels of everything inside of our bodies. So we have an entire society that says one thing. And when I say an entire society, let me break this down before anyone gets offended. We have a group of people saying something, a group of people defending those people, and a group of people who doesn't want to rock the boat. And then we have a group of people who speaks logic. And that group of people is shunned. And we have been brainwashed for so long that if you decide that you want to speak your mind and it goes against the cultural narrative, well, now you're the bad guy, so you keep your mouth shut. This is one of those things that keeps us living in fear. This is one of those things where, again, we go back to information overload. We find ourselves in a situation where so many things are taking place and so many things are happening that we don't want to make a move. Publicly, politically, socially, whatever it is. But also all of the media, the movies that we watch, the stories that we hear, the stuff that's on the news. You see all of these things that have people go, well, shit, that's happening now. And if I go outside of my house, that might happen to me. So it prevents people from making moves in that sense as well. We also have finances. We have the entirety of the mainstream media saying one thing. And then we have an entire counterculture / conspiracy theorist community saying another thing. And if you believe the mainstream narrative, well, times are definitely tough. Inflation's huge and we're all in a little bit of trouble. If you believe the counter narrative, we're in a lot of trouble. You can't buy your house. You can't sell your house because the government's going to take your land. It's all happening in BC right now. I'm not making any of this up. They're just taking people's land and handing it back to the indigenous, which on paper looks fantastic. Except for none of the indigenous alive lost any land. And every single person that lives on that land right now bought and paid for that land from the government, whoever gave them the right to own it in the first place. We're buying it off them. And now that land has been stolen in British Columbia from the owners of the land or from the perceived owners of the land. So now you're even listening to me say this and go, well, that's even what he's saying sounds interesting, but it's also fear. Now I'm afraid. But you're not supposed to be afraid. But this is what's happening with information and with communication. This is the stuff that I'm talking about. It keeps people in a sort of state of paralysis because we've all heard you will own nothing and you'll be happy. And then we do what we can to alter that. And then we ask ourselves, what's the point in doing what we're supposed to be doing in a society if there's no fundamental end or if there's somebody's going to take from us what we've done? It limits your ability to do all these things. Now, on a negative connotation, that just limits who we are and what we're doing. On a positive connotation, it absolutely shows the absurdity of the system in which we've all been living. So your perception again comes into play. How are you going to perceive what's being said? Do you want to view it as liberation and saying, okay, well, I don't want to play by these rules anymore. And then we enter into anarchy, which is actually beautiful. And anarchy has been sold to us by the very same machine that doesn't want us waking up to be absolute chaos, pain, violence everywhere. Now remember, that very media that wants us to believe that is putting it all over the place, that pain and violence exists absolutely everywhere. And I don't mean the news is reporting. I mean the machine behind the information that you receive for free everywhere, social media, legacy media, your friends, stories, hearsay, all of that is intentional. And all of that is trickle-down economics. All of that is coming at you intentionally. So when we live in that state of uncertainty, because it seems to be the reality, we think anarchy is bad and government is necessary. But this is this government, this is the thing that's keeping us essentially imprisoned. So when you say anarchy, all it really means is without rule, without governance. Don't tread on me. I don't want you. I don't need you. I can handle my own. And for whatever else we need, we can handle our own. And we can put together communities. And we can put together committees. And we can get the roads done. And we can get the garbage collected. Because certainly right now, everything is absurd. Even the right down to the finance. Finance is absurd. So this is the world around us at all times. This is what we're perceiving. Now let's talk about who's perceiving what we're perceiving, because this is an angle that nobody talks about. I mean, except for me, a handful of other people. And if you do talk about this, come on the show. I want to have a conversation with you. But observing the observer, right? It's not just the perception that changes. The one doing the perceiving is changing too. You're changing every single minute of every day. You're catching on to things. You're becoming aware of things. You're getting more and more frustrated. Old tactics don't work anymore, even though they keep repeating. A new chapter, a new style, a new form of war. It still has young men believing in a system and murdering other young men. For what? For propaganda, for pride? Yes, maybe. Am I attacking the war complex? I am. Because we are a peaceful people, but we've been tricked. We've been bastardized. We've been fed parasites our whole life. We'll come back to food later. When you're weak, you don't challenge, you don't rise up, you don't think, you don't understand your own power. When you're busy trying to afford a lifetime that constantly gets more expensive, when the goalpost is constantly being moved and you're constantly being aware of the moving goalpost, this isn't an episode of complaining. I'm not complaining here. I'm simply observing. What do we do with this? How do we alter this? How do we change this? How do we step into this? Your past, your current self, your future self would all interpret this situation differently. Has the situation always been the same and the observer has changed? When we were 10 years old, we didn't give a shit about politics. When we were 20 years old, politics was visible, but not invasive. And now it's absolutely everywhere. It's where we live. It's what we do. It's how we do things. It's how we see things. It's the way of life, and it's truthfully absurd. I don't fully understand yet how to merge what's being observed with me, because it is two moving objects. I am growing through the observation, and the observation changes as I grow. Which brings us back to the tie into reality. We don't fully know what reality is, yet we stand here and make demands of ourselves and of people to know what reality is. Right? And one of the main things people say, well, why do you spend all this time thinking about this? Because this doesn't pay the bills. We got to ask ourselves, who signed on for all these bills in the first place? Bills were fine when a cart of groceries was $20. Gas was 37 cents a liter. You could buy a house for 15 to 100 grand. That was fine. That gave us time to do everything that we wanted to do. To learn about ourselves, to learn how to ride a bike, to learn how to play an instrument. What are we doing right now? We're either at work 24/7 because the cell phones have tethered us to work, or we're worried about work. We're worried about money. We're worried about not having enough. We're worried about what we're going to leave to our families. We are a result of direct influence. And when you're worried, you're riding a lower vibrational frequency. You're easily controlled, easily manipulated. You're not about to start assuming, like, we don't have to overthrow the government, for example, but you can just simply stop playing along. And that would confuse the hell out of the entire system. It would disrupt it. So really, anarchy is just completely ignoring the news. No more paying taxes to the government. If we stopped funding their absurdity, all of it would end. What are they going to do? Put everyone in jail? Well, that's great. Your entire citizenship's in jail. Now, if you really think about it, as the observer makes statements and pulls back and withdraws, are we not already in free-range jail? Because we're not free. We're filled with anxiety. We're riddled with tension and pressure and fear. Not actual fear because we believe fear comes from being chased by somebody with a knife. Well, we have no clue what the future holds. So, yeah, it is real fear. And time is another one. Depending on who you're talking to, your time and your perception of time changes and is altered. As we step into the perception of time, we don't fully grasp and understand that, the old saying, a watched pot never boils. It does, and in the same time, but you're staring at it, so your perception's off. When you're having an amazing time with somebody, the time just flies by. But when you're doing something you absolutely detest, it's ticking by the second. Perception's absolutely massive. We can all agree on the clock, but we can't agree on the experience of time. We can't agree with ourselves on the experience of time from one moment to the next. It's altered. It changes. It's a thing. So imagine if you can't agree with it inside your own head, how are you having an absolute conversation with somebody externally about perception, people, place, things, time, experience, when they're adamant that they're right and you're adamant that you're right. Well, hell, both of you are right. Yet we're going to fight over it and lose proper and healthy energy. I want to tie that into with addictions. To somebody who's addicted to some substance or something, anything. If you're an alcoholic, time functions completely differently because A, you lose time with the poison, the alcohol, when you're ingesting spirits. You've left your body and spirits have taken over. So time is completely obscure anyhow. If you're on drugs, same thing. 8 hours can feel like a blink of an eye because you're in a different realm, a different reality, a different perception. It's kind of fascinating, right? All of this exists in and within the same ecosystem of itself, which is why the idea of arguing with anybody about anything is foolish. Conversing with people and trying to understand where they come from and how they got there, for sure. For agreements, take nothing personally. The ego is massive in this sense, right? But the ego is fed. And again, we're coming back to food and addictions. As somebody who has, I don't want to say battled addictions, but certainly done the tango with them, I've experienced a lot of the hard drugs. I've never stuck a needle in my arm. The only time a needle's ever been stuck in my arm is when somebody forced a vaccine upon me at an early age. I had no say or choice. But I've dabbled with virtually everything else and sometimes overdid it. Opioids was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Probably the craziest thing I've ever experienced. Drinking was another one. Cocaine was one hell of a drug too. Right? And when you're in the thick of the high pressure sales, 20s, early 30s, doing everything the third dimension tells you to do, that drug is a miracle drug. But again, even that one particular drug, every single person reacts to it differently. And every single time you get it, it's a different chemical compound. So you don't even know what you're getting. You don't even know who you're experiencing with or what's going to happen. Yet we believe that this is one thing. Now, drinking, drugs, people. You ever been addicted to a person? That shit's fucked up too. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. But let's tie all of this back in. The number one addiction that nobody's even talking about because we need it to live is food. But do we need it to live? Breatharians exist. These people that don't eat anything at all. I've had friends that started a fast. Randy Spencer, shout out if you're listening. He was going to do a 3 or 4 day fast. I think he went something like 21 days without food. He said his whole perception of everything changed. Now, unfortunately, we fall back into it. And yes, it's painful for a time. But food is the number one addiction. And food carries with it the parasites, the very parasites that I was talking about. The ones that alter your brain. The thing, too, with food is it just never seems to be an issue. It never comes at you and says, hey, you really got to do this. But if you think about what food is, and if you think about how food works with addictions, right? The patterns are mirrored. You have your cravings. You have emotional regulation through food. Who gets sad and goes for ice cream or eats their pain away? Reward cycles. Great job, good this, happy day, Friday night, let's get a pizza. Right? Loss of control. Everything starts to slip. The one thing that's there for you is tasty, delicious food. Shout out Dave's Hot Chicken. Justification loops. You can justify one more drink, one more line, one more party with that person you shouldn't party with. You can justify one more shitty meal before you start your diet. Right? It's all identical. It's all identical and it's not ever being properly addressed. And these are the addictions. These are the perceptions. These are the loops. These are the things that you, the human, are going through on a regular basis. And we're being, again, inundated with massive amounts of information. Reality, time, cravings, identity. All of this is filtered through perception in that very moment. And that perception is changing constantly, influenced by what you consume, shaped by what you're attached to. If your perception creates your reality, then what you repeatedly consume, whether it's food, content, people, or thoughts, is quietly building the world you live in. It's quietly building your identity. So when you see all this stuff, you have to be able to look at it with a grain of salt. You have to be able to look at it and go, this isn't an absolute. This is an opportunity. Again, we're going back to the looking glass in the movie Tomorrowland by Disney. They're talking about the end of the world because this thing is projecting the end of the world on people. And guess what? People are going to create the end of the world if it's constantly being projected. This constant fear is being projected. This constant idea that we can't have, don't have, won't have. There's not enough time in the day. I can't get out of this financial loop. I'm stuck. I'm in debt. The Canadian debt household, the most absurd stat is it would take, what was it? 103% of the entirety of Canada's household income to pay off our debt. In other words, we're so underwater, there's no getting out. And these are the people giving you a credit score, by the way. These are the people telling you that you can't have a house, you can't buy a mortgage, you can't have an $1,800 mortgage, so you're stuck paying a $2,300 a month rent. And you know what we do? We accept it. We accept reality. We accept that this is our station. What are we supposed to do? Denounce it. Stop eating shitty food somehow, some way. Figure out a way. Find out what your body acts and reacts with the best and stop it. Or go for that. We can't look at food as an addiction. We can't look at any of this stuff as an addiction. We do look at food as an addiction, but we can't. We need to look at food as fuel. We need to look at our own self as able to step forward. And all of this stuff just keeps cycling and circling through so many things. And there are so many ideas that I have in this. I don't even think I was very clear in this episode as much as I wanted to be. I also still feel weird because I'm not sitting at my office. But that is what we're supposed to do. I'm supposed to learn to adapt and grow and roll with this. I'm supposed to be fully mobile. I'm not supposed to be tethered to an office to create my podcast. We're supposed to grow and adapt and change with absolutely everything that comes our way. And if you cannot challenge your beliefs, they become limiting beliefs. Every single belief that you have about anything, if you cannot challenge it, it is now a limiting belief. And I, for one, believe that you and me and her and him, we're better than all that. We're better than our rulers, our slave masters. There's another thing. You're not allowed to say slave masters because slavery, quote unquote, existed, but doesn't now. People don't see the financial ball and chain. This isn't fear porn. This is just a request to observe patterns, how we're stuck, what we see. Let's light the way for first ourselves and then for anyone around us who starts asking the question. Ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.